What's going on, guys? TomahawkWarrior here, and I'm back bringing you guys another MTG Arena Historic Brawl deck. Today we're gonna do Tabrax, Hope's Demise. Definitely a tried and true commander. You know, he loves his apostles and his sacrifice outlets. So we really leaned heavily into that theme for the deck. Obviously, I'm not reinventing the wheel with this deck. Tabrax has been around for a long time. However, this is my take on it, and I actually have found a way to kind of make this deck unique with some of the win cons that I do have in this deck. The win cons that you'll see in this deck are definitely things that you don't normally see, which I feel really gives it a Tomahawk Warrior kind of vibe to it. As you guys have probably seen in my videos, I love my win cons and the ability just to be like, all right, and I win the game. So with that being said, we need to talk about our commander because he has a ton going on for him. So, Tabrax Hope's Demise is a 3-cost 2/2 flying demon cleric. As long as this card has 5 or more +1/+1 counters on it, he has lifelink. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 on Tabrax. If that creature was a cleric, you may draw a card, and if you do, you lose 1 life. So, like I said, he has got a ton going on for him, and this deck really wants to utilize him to the maximum potential. Obviously, you know, as things die, he's getting bigger, which is already awesome. That's super good. And then as long as he has 5 more counters on you, he has lifelink, which is, you know, really good. So now he's a 7/7 flying demon with lifelink, which may or may not tie into some of our win conditions. And then also, as the game goes on and clerics are dying, I'm drawing cards, which is awesome. Refilling your hand is so incredibly powerful. We have seen other commanders like Corvold and the Gitrog monster be used simply just for their ability to dig through their deck. And this whole deck wants things to die, so Tabrax just gets huge, refills our hand just for you playing the game, which I think is awesome. This deck is so much fun. And yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to see the videos. But before we get into that, we got to break down the deck. So obviously, we do run Bone Shards. It's a 1-cost sorcery. As an additional cost to the spell, sacrifice a creature or discard a card. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Next, we do have Dark Ritual. I don't know why more Taborax decks don't run this card. I understand that this deck isn't that mana hungry. Obviously, you're going to focus on the 1-drop Apostles, which we'll talk about in a second. However, if you have Dark Ritual in your opening hand, that means you get your commander turn 1. That's huge. Turn 2, being able to cast 2 Apostles and have your commander already on the board sets you up so far ahead and just allows you to really just snowball. I have seen people actually just completely surrender if I'm able to pull that off with turn 1 Tabrax and then turn 2 and 3 Apostles. My opponents will just surrender because I'm in such a good board state at that point, and it really comes down to them just being able to deal with Tabrax before my deck completely goes off. That I think that Dark Ritual is just too good of a card to pass up. I do run it in my real life deck as well. Next, we have Echoing Return. This is the standout card for the deck. So it's a 1-cost sorcery. Return target creature card and all other cards with the same name as that card from the graveyard to your hand. So obviously, we're just going to immediately go right into our next card, which is Shadowborn Apostle. So Shadowborn Apostle is a 1/1, 1-cost human cleric. Any deck such as this one, can have any number of cards named Shadowborn Apostle, which is why we do run 37 of them. I can pay 1 black, sacrifice 6 creatures named Shadowborn Apostle, search my library for a demon creature card, and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Obviously, we're running 37 Apostles because we just need to constantly have our hand refilled with Apostles so that we can play them, sacrifice them, and do various things with that. I have seen decks run upwards of, 45, 50, which I think is just too much. At that point, you only have 20 cards in your deck to make the deck work, and I just find that's too small of a number. I think around 40 is a good number. I trimmed it down from 40 to include a few extra cards in the deck that I think really help the deck. But regardless, the reason that Echoing Return is such a good card is because once you've sacrificed 6 clerics with Tabrax on the field, you get a massive demon onto the field. Tabrax gets 6 +1/+1 counters on him, so he becomes enormous. And then Echoing Return allows you to put all those clerics back into your hand. Normally at that stage of the game that you're able to pull off this, you have enough mana that in the following turn just to recast them all. Sacrifice them again, get another demon. Tabrax that's even bigger, and from there you just kind of win the game. Next, I do run Village Rites. It's a 1-cost instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. drawing 2 cards is amazing. Sacrificing the Shadowborn Apostles is not a downside because I want them to die so that Tabrax can get his counters. Next, we do run Shadow Spear. It's a 1-cost legendary artifact. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. I can pay 1 permanent my opponent's control, lose hexproof, and indestructible to the end of the turn. It does cost 2 to equip, which is a little much, but whatever, I don't care. Giving Tabrax an additional +1/+1 is great. The trample, though, is what really makes this card stand out, because Tabrax gets really big really quick, so it's one of the few things that I can do to give him trample, and then it giving him lifelink before he gets it from his own card effect is just really good. So it means when he's swinging as, a 3/3, a 4/4, 5/5, he's still generating some worth, not only killing my opponent's board or dealing damage, but then giving me back life to help me get through those points in the game where my opponent's board wipes and I have to regenerate card advantage. Obviously, we have talked about sacrificing, so because we are going to be sacrificing and losing creatures, we do have to include Blood Artist. Now, I've seen people run Blood Artist or Zulaport Cutthroat. Either one of them works. I just happen to like Blood Artist more. So Blood Artist is a 2-cost 0/1 vampire. Whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So as we sacrifice our clerics or our clerics are dying off, generating advantage with Tabrax and making him huge, Blood Artist will be pinging our opponent down and generating us life, which is a really good thing to have. Now, I have seen people not run this card. However, I feel that if this card is played in the early game, the advantage that it gives makes up for the chance of you not drawing it in certain games. If you do want to cut it, go ahead, but I'd only cut this to put another Shadowborn Apostle in the deck. But I found it to be too valuable, which is why it's in the deck. Now, I would not run both Blood Artist and Zulaport Cutthroat. I would run one or the other, whichever one you have access to. Next, we have Deadly Dispute. It is a 2-cost instant. As additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or a creature, draw 2 cards, and create a treasure token. Generating of a treasure token is nice. However, the drawing 2 cards is why this card's amazing. Like I said, we want our clerics to die, so this helps and generates this advantage for them dying, which is why it's so good. Next, we do run Dream Devourer. This is a 2-cost 0/3 demon cleric. Each non-land card in your hand without foretell has foretell. Its foretell cost is equal to its mana cost, reduced by 2. Whenever you foretell a card, Demon Devourer gets +2/+0 into the end turn. Now, I will say this is definitely a card that you're not going to see in a ton of Taborax decks. However, I do think the fact that it is a Demon Cleric is key. Also, it being a 0/3 is pretty good. It means it's a wall in the early game. And then we do have ways that we're going to be buffing up our specifically Clerics as well as other cards in the deck. So this card will start to get bigger over time as the deck starts playing. A really key thing to remember is that it is a demon. It is a 2-cost demon, which will play into some other cards later. It does play into one of our win conditions, which is the primary reason why this card makes the cut for the deck. Next, we have our first deck buffer in Shadowrite Priest. Shadowrite Priest is a 2-cost 2/2 human cleric. Other clerics I control get +1/+1. I can pay 5, tap, sacrifice another cleric, search my library for a black creature card, put it into the battlefield, and then shuffle. So that's fantastic. He's buffing my little Shadowborn Apostles or my Dream Devourer. And then once I have 5 mana on board, I can sacrifice a cleric to search my library for a black creature card and put it onto the battlefield. So I'm getting, a massive demon, or I'm getting a massive demon, or I'm getting one of my win conditions out at that point. So it's a really strong card. I don't know why people don't have this as an auto-include in all Tabrax decks, but I think it's too good. Next, we run Signed in Blood. It is a 2-cost sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Losing 2 life, not a problem. Tabrax is going to get us that life back. The drawing 2 cards, though, is huge. And, I mean, it is 2 mana for it, but that's honestly not a price that anyone would be hesitant to pay. Next, we do run Demon's Disciple. It is a 3-cost 3/1 human cleric, so it does get buffed with our Shadowrite Priest. When Demon Disciple enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature planeswalker. Next, we have Vargoth Bloodsky Shire. It is a 3-cost 2/3 demon rogue with Death Touch. Boast 4/2. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles and puts that card on top. Boast allowing us to basically tutor on a card for whatever we need. So this will fetch us our win conditions, whatever demon we need to win the game. It's just such a good card for the deck. And like I said, It is a 3-cost demon, which is really important, as we will soon get to our win condition that requires demons. Next, we have Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. He is a 3-cost, 1/3 vampire cleric. So again, he does get buffed. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. You can pay 5. Creatures you control gain lifelink until the end of the turn. So obviously, because we do have Vito in the deck, we are running Exquisite Blood. That is a win condition that basically whenever we gain life, it's going to ping our opponent and the cycle will continue until they're dead. That is fantastic. Tabrax having the built-in lifelink as he generates advantage with our cleric dying is huge. We can give him lifelink with our Shadow Spear, or we have, something die with Blood Arts on the field. We have so many ways to trigger this infinite combo to go off that it's just too good for me to not include in the deck. At least I think. And this is like the weird thing. Most Tabrax decks don't really have win conditions. However, when I was building my Tabrax deck, I saw that Vito wasn't included, and I was wondering why. Because if it were up to me, I'd have Vito, I'd have Exquisite Blood, and I'd have Sanguine Bond in the deck just so I had those win conditions. I've won a ton of games off of it. You will see in the videos that it's, like I said, not hard to pull off at all, and you can do it more often than you think you would with all of our searching that we have, as well as our draw power that we have with Tabrax. Next, I do run Heraldic Banner. It is a 3-cost artifact. When this card enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+0. You can tap, add 1 mana of the chosen color. So this again will buff all of our cards because we are running a mono black deck, which I find is really nice. It means that our Shadowborn Apostles, if they do have Bloodright Priest, means that all of our Shadowborn Apostles are going to be 3/2s, which is fantastic. Tabrax will be a 4/3. Next, we have Blood for Bones. It is a 4-cost sorcery. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. Return target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. Then return another creature card from the graveyard to your hand. So this card is great for a couple reasons. One, it requires a sacrifice, which means we get to sacrifice an apostle, triggering Tabrax to gain advantage. We're returning one of our big demons from the graveyard to the battlefield, which is awesome. And then we're returning a creature card from the graveyard to our hand. So we're re-getting that cleric back to our hand, which is huge because we can then replay it, re-sacrifice it, or we're getting another demon back from our graveyard to our hand. So this card is fantastic. It's super versatile. Next, we do run Demon of Catastrophes. It is a 4-cost, 6/6 flying trample demon. As additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. So that's fantastic. This is a demon that is huge. A 6/6 for 4 is amazing. It comes with flying, which is awesome, and trample, which is great. It forces us to sacrifice a cleric, which is awesome, which gives us advantage with Tabrax. Or we can sacrifice Tabrax if he's been jailed or turned into a frog or whatever. So this card is awesome. It has so many uses for when it hits the field of what we want to sacrifice, and then allows us to just get a ton of advantage with, its really big body. Now, in IRL, I also do run Abyssal Persecutor. However, that card is obviously a lot worse because you can't win the game when that card's on the field. But yeah, the other thing is that Demon of Catastrophes is a demon, which again will come into play really, really soon. So I'll tell you why we want cheap demons in this deck. But yeah, great card for the deck. Next, we have Nightmare Shepherd. It is a 4-cost 4/4 demon with flying. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token copy of that card, except it's a 1/1 nightmare in addition to its other type. So this is fantastic. It gives us, another really cheap demon. A 4/4 flying is nothing to sneeze at. The ability to create a token of a creature that still counts as that creature is huge. So if we have Nightmare Shepherd on the field, we can sacrifice 6 clerics. We will exile them and bring them back with Nightmare Shepherd, meaning we will get them back to the field immediately. So if we have enough mana, we sacrifice 6 apostles, triggering Tabrax, getting a bunch of counters on him, allowing us to draw. We get a demon from our deck to the graveyard, and then those apostles re-hit the field. We can re-sacrifice them, putting even more counters on Tabrax, drawing more cards if need be, and then getting another demon on the field. At that point, Tabrax would be a 14/14 demon with lifelink, and all because we were able to put Nightmare Shepherd on the field. Next, we do have Exquisite Blood. It is a 5-cost enchantment. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Like I referenced earlier with Vito, this is the other half of the win condition. Like I said, I don't know why I don't see it more in mono black decks, but if you're gonna run a win condition, this is usually one of the go-to because it is pretty easy to achieve. Does require some setup, but it's not that hard to pull off. Next, we do have Liliana's Contract. It is a 5-cost enchantment. Now, this is the other win condition of the deck. When Liliana's Contract enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and lose 4 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. So that's why I wanted all those cheap demons in the deck, because they all have different names. And if I'm able to get Liliana's Contract on the field, then I win the game the following turn. The drawing of the 4 cards is amazing. It refills our hands. Hopefully we draw 4 apostles and we just get to play them. But because it hits the field and it is a win condition, it has to be dealt with. So that forces our opponents to deal with it. So that means once we play this card, it's either going to win us the game the following turn, or it forces our opponents to basically stall out as they use all of their resources to kill this card. And then, I get another turn. So I found it to be too good of a card not to include. Granted, it is hard to do the win condition. However, if it does get to the later stages of the game, you can definitely just win with this card. But yeah, I found the pressure that it gives is too good to pass up. Next, we do have Burning Ruin Demon. It is a 6-cost, 6/6 Demon Berserker with flying. When this card enters the battlefield, you may search your library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Ruin Demon that have different names. If you do, reveal those cards. Your opponent chooses one of them. You put the chosen card into your hand and the other one goes to the graveyard, then shuffle. It's basically a tutor that helps you set up your graveyard. So you can either choose something pretty simple like here's 2 clerics, one goes to graveyard, one goes to my hand. Or you can do something like here is my win condition that if you let me have it, I'll win. Or you're giving me, a massive advantage card like Meet Her Massacre, Razkill the Foul, or Villas. In which case I'm just going to kind of win, but it's going to take me another turn or 2. Next, we do have Demon of Dark Schemes. It is a 6-cost 5/5 flying demon. When Demon of Dark Schemes enters the battlefield, all other creatures get -2/-2 until the end of the turn. Whenever another creature dies, I gain an energy counter. I can pay 3 mana, pay 4 energy, put target creature card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under my control tapped. This is a fantastic card. Works very similar to Massacre Worm. However, it does affect the entire board. So that means that if Tabrax just hit the field, he's dying. All of our apostles are going. But yeah, it's more in the deck because it is a demon, which does work with our Liliana's Contract. And it is a board wipe if need be. Next, we do have Harvester of Souls. It is a 6-cost 5/5 demon with Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, draw a card. So this does help us refill our hand and gain card advantage. It is a really expensive card for 6, so you're probably not going to see it too often. But when it does hit the field, it is a 5/5 Death Touch demon, so it's pretty hard to get to deal with. And then as our apostles start dying, generating us advantage with Tabrax, you're drawing even more cards, which is huge. And the reason why it makes the cut for the deck. Next, we do have Dreadfeast Demon. It is a 7-cost 6/6 flying demon. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice a non-demon creature, aka an apostle. If you do, create a token that's a copy of Dreadfast Demon. So this card is basically the go-to game winner for most Tabrax decks. Once you cheat this card out with a bunch of apostles and Tabrax gotten huge, you've gotten a 6/6 flying demon that's going to make more 6/6 flying demons as the game goes on. Meaning, especially in Arena where we only have 25 life, you're going to start hitting your opponent for game super quick. If they are not able to deal with Dreadfast Demon, this card by itself will win you the game in 2 turns. Next, I do run Razkill the Foul-Blooded. It is a 8-cost 8/8 flying trample demon. Pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand, then shuffle. Gets us our win condition, gets us, whatever you could ever want. All for the cost of sacrificing an apostle, which, as I've said many times, we want our apostles to die, so it's not even a downside. Next, we do have Villas, Broker of Blood. It is a 8-cost 8/8 flying demon. I can pay 1 black, pay 2 life, target creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn. Whenever I lose life, draw that many cards. So, Villas is a great card because, again, huge body on a demon, and then he is spot removal. So, it does take a decent amount of mana and life to get rid of creatures by just giving them the -1/-1. However, it does get rid of, a problematic card like Platinum Angel or something like that where your opponent is just protecting it and it by its being alive is generating an advantage or a win condition. Villas is one of the few cards that can get rid of it over time. and then the ability to refill our hand with cards is super huge. Next, we do run Meat Hook Massacre. Now, this is a card that I've had a real love-hate relationship with. It is a super good card. However, there are other cards that you could use instead in the deck that could do just as well, but we'll get into that in a second. So Meat Hook Massacre is a minimum 2 cost legendary enchantment. When Meat Hook Massacre enters the battlefield, each creature gets -X until end of turn, which is equal to the amount that you pay into this card. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. It is a controlled board wipe, which is huge, because you pay however much you want into this card, and it will only deal with cards that have mana equal to the amount that you pay into this card. So if your opponent has a bunch of 1/1 tokens, you only have to pay 1 into it. If your opponent has, a bunch of 5/5 flying angels, you got to pay 5 into it on top of the 2 for its base cost. So it can get really mana hungry really quick. However, whenever a creature I control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So this helps ping our opponents down like Blood Artist as our clerics start dying, either to pay for other cards, being sacrificed to bring out other demons. I have seen people put other board wipes in there that are a lot cheaper, stuff like Damnation, Bontu's Reckoning. Those are good options too if you just want a straight up board wipe that deals with everything, because there are times where you just cannot pay enough mana into this card to have it completely nuke the board. So it can be slightly risky to run this card. However, the ability to ping your opponent down and for it to be a controlled board wipe is just too good in my opinion to pass up. So I think that this card needs to go in the deck. This card has won me several games throughout my career playing Tabrax that I personally would never not include it in my deck. But if you weren't going to include this in your deck, please put Domination or Bontu's Reckoning or some other form of board wipe in the deck. And then finally, moving on to our lands, we do have 35 lands and 1 Pyrexian Tower. Obviously, we are going to include Pyrexian Tower into this deck because we can tap sacrifice creature to add 2 black mana. Like I said, we want our Apostles to die, so this just helps us do that. Now, you'll notice I don't run anything like Astronaut's Altar or Altar of Demise or anything like that. I don't feel that you need it in this deck. All of our apostles are being sacrificed to either regain card advantage or to cheat up big things, which I think is enough that you don't need to sacrifice them into stuff like Astronaut's Altar. Also, I don't run any other sort of, massive revival cards like Open the Graves, like Command the Dread Horde. You could include those into the deck. However, I think this style of just, having a bunch of different toolbox utility demons is better than just, trying to dump trying to dump cards into the graveyard and then bring them back with Command the Dread Horde. So, looking at the deck, it is super creature heavy. We do have 51 creatures. It's the highest amount of creatures I've ever had in a deck. And then we do have 36 lands. This deck is super fun, guys, and I really do hope that you enjoy watching the games. So I will see you guys after the videos.
Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared? girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done. Girls with their
collapse. Only a few will survive. The world as we know it will no longer be there. Water is gone. A new era has begun. Prepare yourself for the apocalypse.
Qu'est-ce qui m'arrive? Qu'est-ce que je représente? Qui je suis, putain? Va falloir que je me lève. Que je recommence à zéro. C'est bon comme ça que ça se termine. Une balle dans la tête, deux balles dans le ventre. Mais putain, faut que je me relève. Que je me casse. Comment je vais pouvoir me
Alright, and there we have it, guys. That is my Tabrax Hopes Demise deck profile and game footage. Like I said, guys, Tabrax himself generates so much advantage. He gets out of control so fast. He's just a super fun commander to have. If I could put Fling in this deck so I could just eat him at my opponents, it would be the best thing ever. However, Mono Black can't do that. Standout cards for the deck, obviously, we gotta say Nightmare Shepherd. Regenerating us, those clerics is huge. Obviously, we have our Infinite combo with our Exquisite Blood and Veto. And then Liliana's Contract, the ability to refill our hands and force our opponents to deal with this card is just so good. Also, I kind of have to say that Shadow Rite Priest is also another standout card. Giving all of our clerics the additional +1/+1 is huge, like I said. And as you guys saw in the videos, you were able to flood the board with so many 1/1s that making them 2/2s, just gives you so much pressure that your opponent just says, crap, I have to deal with this. And then if they deal with this, normally that means that Tabrax is just getting bigger and refilling our hands. So it's a win-win either way. But yeah, like I said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please drop a like, sub, drop a comment in the comment section, guys. I love to read comments. I love to make my decks better. Like I said, I do own this deck in IRL, and in IRL it is slightly different. But yeah, you will see some clips that you saw in the videos on TikTok. If you guys want to go check those out, please do. And yeah, there will be some really cool videos with Tabrax coming out in the near future, so do stay tuned for that. Until next time, guys, I've been Tomahawk Warrior. Peace. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.